step really with our illustrations is once we have them the way that we want them, we got to get them out of here. We want to use them on things. We want to put them on products or make SVGs out of them or, make illustrations or typography pieces. We want to utilize these in other designs. So the next step is going to be exporting and getting this out of here. Um, so one of the things that I do is I usually just turn off my sketch because I don't need it for the final piece. Um, but the other thing too is I drew this leaf on top. I actually want it underneath. So if I go ahead and swipe left, or I guess it would be right, and I've got both of these things highlighted, I can either group them or I can just grab them both and drag them behind my flower so that you can see that this piece actually kind of sticks out behind. So maybe I'll stick it like that. Okay. So that's something we can do. Now, I have not talked about this panel up here yet, and so I'm going to go ahead and do that now since we went ahead and actually utilized some of these things. So the arrow right here is actually our selection tool. So it's going to select things for me. I can, with these two things selected here, so I've got these two layers highlighted. If I hit this arrow button, I can move both of those layers in tandem. I can resize them if I want. This uniform means it's going to stay proportioned. Freeform is going to make it so I can, change it wonkily. Distort is actually going to make it so it's like distorting it. So whatever point I grab it, it's kind of changing the angle of it a little bit. And then if I warp, I actually have a little bit more options of like playing around with how this kind of stretches around. I don't tend to use these because I don't like these in Procreate. There's a lot of data loss that happens in here, and so I don't tend to use it a whole lot. Um, I usually keep mine on uniform. Snapping is nice for if you're wanting things to stay. So if I were to have this on and am moving it, you can see these lines are kind of snapping and telling me, oh, I'm going directly down. I'm going directly over, or I'm going at this angle. So if you're wanting things to snap to things, it's used a lot in people use it for making patterns and things here in Procreate. Um, we can also flip it horizontally or vertically. You can rotate it if you want. Um, you can flip the fit to the canvas so it makes it the size of the canvas. This one right here is the one where you're going to want to make sure yours is either bicubic or bilinear. I've had debate on which one's better. Mine's default bicubic. Just don't do nearest neighbor, okay? And then this resets it. So if you messed with it, you don't know, you're like, wait, I just wanted to go back. You can revert it by saying reset. Okay. And then you can just click on that again and it'll go away. This selection tool is nice for if we have, for instance, all of these little details or veins in this illustration, they're all together on one layer. But if I really wanted to move these, I'm like, oh, I don't like the way that these are, then we can select them. Now I have it on rectangle, so I'm actually going to click that and do freehand and show you that I can come in here and just select something. And then I can come to the selection tool and move it. Now, the reason why that didn't do it is because I'm still on these layers. So I have to make sure that I'm on the layer I want to select and move around. Okay, so I can be like, oh, I just need those up just a little bit. Okay, so there's a lot of ways to do this. There's the automatic, rectangle, ellipse. Automatic is going to kind of select based off of the fills and things. I don't use that one because it tends to mess with some of my settings, especially my color dropping settings. So I don't tend to use it. But you can add, you can remove, you can invert, copy, and paste. You can feather so that like blurs the edges of your selection. Um, and you can fill the selection, like after you do it, you can hit fill color. So um, there's some options that you can play around with there. These ones are going to be your adjustments. So we can change the colors of things by changing the hue and saturation and brightness of the color. You can mess with the color balance, the curves, and the gradient matte. Gaussian blur, so it's going to blur the shape, or motion blur or perspective blur. So there's different types of blurring. I'm not going to go into all of these, but play around with them and see what they do and see if there's things that you like. You can add noise to your illustration. You can sharpen it. You can do this thing called bloom glitch halftone, which is that dotted, like old comic book look. And then this chromatic aberration. You can use the liquify. So it kind of makes it so that it's like liquid. Like if I were to smush it, it will kind of just kind of bring some stuff in. So for example, if I do use this liquify, I can come in here. Let's see. Let's actually do it on this layer. If I come in here, let's make sure I'm on liquify. You can see that it is pulling that down. Okay, so I can kind of just manipulate the shape of my petals as I want with that liquify tool. Now you can change the size of that. So if I wanted it like smaller than I can. So there's a lot of different ways you can use liquefied. You can twirl things, pinch things, expand. So there's a lot of different settings for this liquefy and ways you can use it and play around with it. And then cloning is you go ahead and say, okay, I want this. That's my spot. And if I start drawing over here, it's actually going to start, see how it's now not drawing because I'm now off that shape. It's going to just start filling in, based off of what you're cloning, if that makes any sense. So I could essentially draw this entire flower again over here, um, and make that happen. So kind of an interesting little tool. I'll show you on this green leaf. It'll show you a little bit better. And I move it here, and I'm actually gonna make my brush bigger. So if I were to come over here and I start drawing in, you can see that I'm starting to draw out this. You can see that I drew that leaf again right here. Okay. So there's some fun uses for that. The other panel that I use a lot is our general actions panel. And this is where we're going to get to exporting our canvas. Okay. So in here, we have a few things. We have add, so we can insert files. So if you have an outside thing that you want to bring in, you can insert photos. So if you have a photo you want to bring in, you can do that. You can even take a photo and insert it in here as a layer. We can add text. We can also cut, copy, and copy the whole canvas, is all in here as well. If we go into Canvas, this is Canvas information. So we can actually see what size our canvas is, and we can actually adjust it if we would like. Oh, wrong one. Then we can also come in here and use Animation Assist. So if you're doing GIFs, however that is pronounced, then you can go ahead and it'll have some options for animation. So if I turn that on, you can see the onion skins down here. There's a page assist, which is also kind of similar. The drawing guide is one that I use a lot, and its default is this grid, but I can do isometric, I can do perspective, and I can do symmetry. Symmetry I do a lot, which basically mirrors one side or the other, or I've got these other options for the symmetry, but that's where you would find that. And um, I can turn it on or off right here. Okay. This reference photo here is actually outside, so it's not in the canvas. It comes and you can move it around. It automatically does canvas here, but I can go to my camera roll. I can do my face, so I can like take, you can see that it's the camera up here. But there's a lot of different options you can do for um, the reference. You can flip your canvas like the entire thing left and right. And then if you just want canvas information, then you can come in here and learn about it. You can even come in here and sign your name, say this was done by me, and you can even add in your photo if you would like. Okay. All right, so that's that one. This is the one we're going to use next, is we're going to export and share. Okay, so we have a bunch of different options. We can export it as Procreate, PSD, PDF, JPEGs, PNGs, TIFFs. These ones down here actually export as individual layers. So if I were to use those ones, I would have 6 different files that would get exported because it's going to export those layers as a PDF, each layer as a PNG, each layer as a GIF, PNG, MP4, and HEVC. This is the video, so this is our time lapse. So if you want to watch the replay, so I can click on here and you can see that it is showing you all of the replay stuff. Okay, from the time that I started drawing to the end where I'm not drawing anymore. So apparently, and it'll just do this countdown up here. So you can see here's the end of my illustration. And then you can hit done. And if you want to turn it off, you don't want it to record what you're doing, then you can actually turn it off. Purging is going to be like, it's going to wipe everything, get rid of everything that was recorded before. If you hit don't purge and you turn this back on, it'll just pick up where it left off. And then right here is where you can export the time lapse. So you can put it in Instagram stories and doing fun stuff like that. Right here is your preferences. This is where you can change some of these gestures where things are at, gesture controls like the 2-finger tap, that type of a thing. So you can change some things in there. And then of course there's, some helps in here as well. All right, so you can see that there's a bunch of different things that you can change or turn on. The other thing that I didn't go over is if I 3-finger swipe, which is one of those gestures, I can get this menu bar for cutting, copying everything, duplicating, cut and paste, and then paste. So I have some options there as well. So we're going to go ahead and just export this. I'm going to share. I usually export as a PSD because I like to retain all of my layers. I don't want it a flat image. I usually am wanting to use this and being able to use all of the layers in other programs. So I can airdrop to my other devices. I can message or send it to other programs, or I can even send it to my files. So I can go to a folder on my iCloud and save it there if I would like to. So there's a lot of different options. And then I will just do, or I can save it to my thing. So I'm just going to go ahead and actually cancel. I'm going to save, send it to my Mac, and we're going to airdrop it over. All right. And then I'm just going to close that out on my computer. Okay. So that is how, and then I can just hit done, hit the X, and it's saying export is successful. And there you have it. You have created your first illustration and you have exported it out of Procreate. Congratulations. Thank you so much for joining me in today's class. I had a fantastic time teaching you how to use the Procreate app. These are just a few basic things on how to get started and just kind of know how to use the interface, how everything works, where everything is. I highly recommend going in and playing around with a lot of the things that you learned today. The more that you play around and learn, the more you're going to get comfortable with the program and how things work. So I just encourage you to play, 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 and have fun. Thanks again for joining me, and we will